Today, your heart and your mind come back into alignment, clearing old karmic patterns. Let's see what today brings. Today's going to be a fantastic day. I don't know how you're feeling, but I woke up feeling this weird sense of grief that has been there almost like since I was born. And it feels like I want to release it today. So I'm excited about seeing who shows up and what happens today. Come on in, welcome. And can you give me a bunch of likes? And if you hit that little button, send it off to a few friends. I'd really appreciate it. Let's get this party started here. Welcome, welcome, and put down some sentiments of how you're feeling. Do you guys feel like me, like I had this weird emotion, kind of like an old feeling of grief that I got up and I had no way to explain? Looking forward to seeing how this all shakes out today. Okay, one quick second. Now we're gonna bring up our guest, Raw Reality. Here we go. It's gonna be a really, really fantastic day. I can feel it already. Hey, Raw, how you doing?
Hello. Good. Good.
How are you
The
feeling today? Are you feeling, I was feeling a sense and I was asking everybody to put down in the comments how they're feeling. I was feeling like a sense of grief that's nothing attached to anything in my life. Like it was trying to go and I was feeling that old emotion. And so I'm assuming with the astrology today, it's about thoughts and feelings coming together, getting rid of old patterns, like an old emotion. You feeling it?
definite. Well, yeah. I mean, that's the whole thing, and then the new moon and the start of winter. Uh, Definitely a little bit of letting go, and also just like I haven't been motivated, so finding the motivation is been difficult.
Hmm.
Uh, Actually, let me rephrase that. I haven't been motivated to what I normally am motivated for. So
Right.
it's weird. It's like I can do certain things that I normally don't think is a priority, but the things that I used to think is a priority, it's really difficult for me to get into the groove and into the flow with that.
That makes a lot of sense because we are completely rewiring who we are as people and what our old story is. So our old story is completely gone. So I feel like it's kind of like feels like a bit of grief from my old story.
Hmm.
Yeah. As a matter of
Well,
fact, I was thinking about my daughter and I was thinking about her and I was feeling I was feeling a moment of, letting her down in the past. And she's got her wedding social coming up this weekend in Winnipeg, Manitoba. And I was getting some stuff ready for her, and I don't know why, but this came up as a very distinct feeling. And in my past, like if I look at it, I have a reason to feel that way, but I've gone past that feeling. So for it to come up again, it was like the thought allowed the feeling to come up, I believe.
I suppose these things just keep recycling with all aspects of our life, right? For me, it's been imposter syndrome is coming up, which I normally haven't felt in the last few years. So it's kind of mirroring what you said. I've been just not feeling like an imposter with anything for the last 4 or 5 years, but in the last few weeks, it's been coming up and it's been starting in the head, like you said, and then just getting into like, man, do I really feel this way? Is this the reason why I'm not wanting to move forward in these directions? So that's coming up for me. But it is the start of winter, right? So we are going into more and more light every single day.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's what all of these holidays are about. I mean, it's not even, Christians celebrate Christmas, but if you look at all of the holidays, it's all about a celebration of light overtaking
Right.
darkness during this time of year.
Yeah, I was talking to Chris yesterday. We did Astro Monday yesterday on Tuesday, and basically said it's by today it kind of feels like things come together, and that's why I would imagine the emotions coming out. And he says Thursday, Friday, you're gonna feel kind of like everything's good. It's like New Year's, like you're gonna feel all this New Year's stuff coming into it. And he says by Monday, everybody's gonna feel like they know what to do. They're marching that direction. But some people who haven't been working on themselves are gonna feel like they're marching on that direction, but they're carrying a few extra bags with them.
That's exactly how I feel. Because I was like, like I kind of feel like I'm still in the like still gaining momentum out of the low
Yeah.
that the winter solstice brings out because it's dark, you know, at 3, 4, or 5 o'clock, depending on where you are, and then in the northern hemisphere. Right, it's still dark right now where you are, and it
Yeah, yeah.
doesn't. Yeah, and it's hard to get up in the morning because it's dark. If you're used to waking up with the sunrise, and I was like, all right, it's time to go. It's time to. It's getting more and more light. Why am I not feeling a that revving of the engine? But it feels like it's taken a little bit more time than just happening on December 22nd, 3rd, 4th, or 5th.
Let's see what happens tomorrow. I mean, I have a feeling like after talking to Chris yesterday, I have a feeling that after today ends, that feeling is going to change. So I'm really curious because I got a pin in it now. Like there's no reason for me to feel like you said. There's no reason for me to feel this way. And I don't necessarily feel it's the Christmas or even the darkness because I felt great yesterday. I think it's just the final bit of emotions coming out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, so what do you do? That's a good point. So when you feel like that, because everybody feels like that at some point. So when you feel like that, what is your go-to? How do you work your way through that?
I mean, like everything, I usually like go to a window, and because it's hard to feel like this being outside, you know. So I'm usually when I'm feeling this, I'm like inside, and I go to a window and I look outside and I see if the sun's out, and if it is, I go out in the sun, and if it isn't, I'm trying to calculate. Okay, it's cloudy now. What, you know, maybe I can do some work for 2 hours, and then it's going to not be cloudy in 2 hours. It's like always about the sun for me,
Right.
like always. And like I said, walking through nature or being outside, it's very difficult to be in your head like that when you're walking at the beach or in the forest, because the trees, the ground, the air, they don't know your problems.
I got an idea. I'm just gonna walk outside.
Yeah.
Wow.
It smells different out there too, right?
Yeah. I mean, cheapers. It is so beautiful out here, and it's been exactly the weather to be out there.
Losing internet.
But for those of you guys who want to know what this looks,
That
is
looks
it better now?
amazing. Yeah, right now it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Should have done my
that spot right there, yeah, that spot doesn't know civilization.
Yeah. Actually I feel really good.
So want me to get the tripod?
Yeah,
Stay out here.
yeah, grab it for a minute. I'll stay out here. I mean, it's cold as a truck, but yeah. But I think I'm gonna stay out here for a bit. I mean, this really, I feel good out here. Look at this. And for those of you guys who want to know what Lions Bay looks like,
I mean, all those plants are releasing so much. I mean, they're definitely releasing oxygen, taking the
yeah.
carbon dioxide out of the air, breaking it.
So this is one of my favorite spots here because right down here is an area, a seating area, and the sun sets right over there every day.
This is a major part of planning out your life, is making sure that you do have easy access to stuff like this, whether it's a yard or a park. You know, if you do need to live in an apartment or you do get to live in an apartment, then, you know, are you located close to a park? Is it easy for you to get access to the sunrise or the sunset? Where is the sun shining during the day? Do you have a tree? Like, is there a tree around? Where's the trail at? All of this is important when looking for housing.
Yeah, so
Because
you just moved. So tell me about that place you just moved to and why you moved there.
we moved to Ventura. It's about an hour north of the down like the city of LA, but we can get to LA-ish areas in like 25 minutes. So
Hmm.
it's sort of like you with Lions Bay in location to Vancouver. It's a little outside the city. It's a smaller city, more family oriented. My wife and I were in LA for like 18 years, and LA is an amazing place if you're hustling and grinding and growing and connecting. And we just feel we're a little bit beyond that stage. Even though we do all of those things, we can be outside of the city. We can be closer to nature. We can also have an ocean view. Um, it's just more accessible here in Ventura. Also, LA's just, it's the energy is a little bit it's a little bit too much for us. I guess maybe we didn't notice it when we were younger, or maybe it's shifted. I don't know. But we tried everything in LA. We were in Laguna Beach, we were in Brentwood, we were, living in amazing places. So we're kind of like in between. We even left LA and went to Mount Shasta for a little bit, but that was too secluded. So this is kind of like, it seems like the best of all of the places that we had.
Well, I mean, I love, I can see the beach out there.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got the sunset happening right there too. There's islands out there. There's
Don't
mountains. You can kind of see a mountain in the background. It's not a dark cloud.
don't you have don't you have sunrise and sunset? You can see both places.
Yeah. Well, I have, if I just walk to the other side of my house, there's a little like balcony area, and that's the sunrise. I'm thinking about putting an ice bath right there, and then sunset's happening right here. South facing uh, is also, I mean, we've got a lot of access. We've got a big yard as well, but the south is where the sun goes all day long if you're in the northern hemisphere. So having a backyard or an area outside where it's south facing is really important in order to get to the light. The people that have the least amount of sunlight on this planet, like they have the highest amounts of suicide.
Listen,
So you go to like Portland.
I grew up in Fort McMurray, Alberta. For you Americans, that's the most northern city in Canada. There's northern towns. It's the most northern city, and it's where all the oil in Canada comes from. It's got more oil than Saudi Arabia, which people don't know. And it's got like now 350 billion barrels on reserve, and it's all the tar sands. So it would get at this time of year, it's dark at 3 o'clock, starting to go at 2:30, and the sun would be up around 10:30 in the morning. And when I was a kid, I just grew up, and that was just the way it was. Then when I came to Vancouver, I didn't even realize, because I wasn't aware. I didn't even realize that the sun was staying up later. Like here in Vancouver at night and the summertime, the sun it's like 10:30 at night, and we still have light. Like it's 11 o'clock, and you're like, now it's getting dark, and it's up at 4 a.m. So it's really beautiful in the summer, and in the wintertime it's beautiful. It's cozy, but I definitely am a light guy.
You brought up oil. This is like, oil is essentially stored sunlight, and oil and coal allowed human beings to expand. Coal, it was first coal, which is
Right.
like trees that were stacked up.
So are you going to the oils not from dinosaur remains? Yeah,
Yeah,
because it's not.
so the yeah, we want to talk about like the weird stuff, but enlighten me on the alternative perspective of where oil is coming from.
Well, first of all, oil is abundant, not rare. And we've been taught that it's rare, and it's been controlled by a number of people. Even if you have oil, you have to sell it, and selling it, it constricts it. So there's not a lot of exploration unless you already have a place to sell it, and it's everywhere. So oil, I personally believe oil was from plant matter, and we've had different versions of the planet Earth. I mean, right here we have the islands, and we have a San Juan Island here. This is a temporal rainforest, and they show artifacts coming from Central America up here, and they say that when the Earth flipped, and the peaks like Everest, they have seashells on the top, and they found evidence of mountain from in the bottom of the Mariana Trench. So at some point it went like this.
And
And when
palm
that
trees
happened,
in
yeah,
Antarctica.
all the plants got folded in and they created a matter or a substance called oil. That's what I believe.
Yeah. So, but that's in alignment with what I was
Okay.
saying, because that in the plants are the light, right?
Yeah.
So the light is what the plants are storing, along with carbon from the air, from carbon dioxide, and hydrogen oxide, hydrogen and oxygen from H2O, from water. But plants are basically made up of cellulose,
Yeah.
which is carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and a lot of light is facilitating all of that through photosynthesis. So all the plants are holding the light, and when they turn to coal and oil over degrading and then basically being stored under pressure, when we extract it, we're basically using stored sunlight. And so if you think about what makes us human, what makes us be able to operate, it's always about the light. So the light was facilitating plant matter, facilitating food. So whether it's we're eating plants or we're eating the animals that ate the plants, it's all about capturing the sunlight. And what coal and oil did was allow us to tap into the
Right.
reserves, like the Earth's reserves of sunlight. But so that's like the traditional standpoint of what oil and coal is in it, and it's limited, right? And that's like OPEC and all that. They determine the price and the story that goes out into the media, how much is left, and the global warming story. But I've heard or seen some things like, if you think about the earth as being living, that there's the minerals, like the metals in the earth, there's the waters in the earth, and there's things like oil, the fluid in not really fluid, but the energy, it's fluid like of the earth, and that all is just like the blood and the lymph
Yeah.
and the nerves of
That's
us.
so that's actually so you know my background, I'm a cryptologist. I'm a puzzle guy. So when I was trying to think of fascia in a new way, I needed a cipher. I needed a way to look at it because the information we have is too confusing. The puzzle's too big. There's too many inputs. So I said, okay, if our cell is like it is in the universe, you know, and there's more space in our cell, and we have so if then we're just a fractal of that. So we have to be somewhere between the cell and the universe. We have to be the same.
Right.
So then I started looking for the similarities, and I go to planet Earth. Like a leaf of a tree is like our brain. The placenta of a baby from the baby is like a tree. You've got all these things. You've got walnuts are like brains. You've got all these different things that look the same. So here's the analogy that I drew because I was trying to think of it. Okay, the Earth has a torus, a field that goes like this. And so that's an energetic field that protects the Earth to some degree, but it doesn't stop, let's say, an asteroid from hitting us. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we have? We have a field around us, an aura, torus.
Right.
So I said that's the same thing. Okay, but now we have an atmosphere. The atmosphere is different densities in air, and technically we're water, so we're air. We're the same thing, 7% water. The Earth is 70% water. So we have the same density. So the aura comes down into here, and there's different densities from here all the way down. So our skin is like the atmosphere.
Our skin is like the atmosphere.
Skin and fascia, different densities. As you go down, it gets thicker and thicker and thicker. So it gets stronger and harder. Like the fascia is way stronger than the skin because the fascia has a tensile breakpoint of 50,000 pounds, like steel. So like to tear it. That's why a quad goes bang it's not the muscle that does it, it's the fascia. So if that was the case, then the muscles are like the dirt. The rocks are like the bones. The oceans are like our organs. There's a limited number of oceans and seas in the world. And all the lakes are like our lymph nodes. Yeah, exactly. Lakes are like our lymph nodes. And then the trees are our lungs. And then so that allowed me. So then what I did is I said, so how does the dirt react with the rock, and how does the trees react with the earth, and what does it do? And I was making those comparisons because that I had science on. I could go look at and say, well, how would that be like the body? that was how I built my new theory of fascia and the body.
That's crazy because like you said, you can keep on looking into it because there are even there's things that tie all those together too, like the
Yeah,
bacteria or the bacteria that travel amongst everything in the earth, and same thing with
yeah,
us. And
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. We have, and here's some other things. Is that every single virus on the planet Earth is already embedded in your DNA. So if we
right.
do a PCR test and we spin it up to like 80 or 100 cycles, you'll have Ebola, swine flu, you'll have AIDS, you'll have every single virus that's ever been on the planet Earth, because we're made as a commensurate of this Earth. We're made from the Earth.
Yeah,
We're
we
not
are
made from space. We're not projected here. We're not catching things. We're
for
made,
nature.
yeah, we're made of the Earth. We're not separate of it. So, and that's a scientifically true statement. So then, why would I put, like, when we want to develop an immunity against something, we expose ourselves to it. So why would
Hmm.
I expose myself to something to develop an immunity if I already have it in me? Then that takes away the whole germ theory of how can I catch something if I already have it? This is
Right.
the whole thing. And we know that in microbiology, like right now, the latest one is to help people that have disease processes serious that can't fix it. They're doing fecal transplants.
Hmm.
What is a fecal transplant? It's literally taking somebody else's crap and putting it up your butt. Like, that's it. Now I think they charge like 20 grand for that. And I'm like,
Potentially unvaccinated, untampered with
yeah,
people where they
but
have their full microbiome. Sorry, go
right,
ahead.
but 20 grand, man. It's like I think they're now doing it for like 10 or $1,000, but that's a medical procedure. It's, first of all, it doesn't take 20 grand to do that.
I don't know if he wants this public, but there's a common person that we both know that you have recently started having on lives, but ask him about that
Well,
because
actually, I'm gonna have him in Mexico on the 2nd for a
cool,
week. Yes.
because he's got interesting. Just ask him about that specific topic.
Okay, I will.
He might not
So,
want it to be public knowledge, but yeah,
well, it is now. So, I know. I listen. He may not give a shit, but I do. Um. So we so the to be healthy, we're trying to protect ourselves from people, but to be healthy, the truth is, if I walk in a room of people and lick everybody, lick them, I will be way healthier than if I try to hide myself and wash myself, because I get all of their bacteria, which some of it I'm not exposed to. Like when you came down to Mayakan, the first thing that we gave everybody was a drop of local honey, a spoon of local honey, because that has all the information in the local environment, so your body can adapt right away. It doesn't have to go through the hard steps of adapting.
that's a good thing to do when traveling anywhere. The
Yes.
And so that's what babies do, right? They're putting stuff in their mouth
Yeah.
constantly. And that's what their body's instincts are doing. It's learning the environment. And the thing about bacteria is that if bacteria interacts with another bacteria, instantaneously they transmit all the information that they like almost become one. It's like they were two separate units, and then once they interact with each other, they get all of the information that the other one has had. Bacteria has been battling against viruses like forever. So we want a lot of bacteria in our body. We want them all to be healthy, and we want the bacteria in our environment,
Or
especially on,
cooperating.
huh?
Or
Yes,
cooperating.
yeah, yeah,
Even
yes.
like the other one is people. I don't want parasites in me. I'm like, you can't live without parasites. It's
Parasites
part
are
of
a
the
sign
cycle.
of a healthy
Yeah,
environment.
absolutely. And so so we have all this belief about everything that comes from inside of us is dirty and it's bad, but it's actually completely the opposite. Like not even close to being true. That is completely false.
Yeah. I mean, just look at animals. My dog, when I walk him, he's going around and he's inhaling all of the other dogs, like and all of the other scents, and even licking. He's licking so much stuff. I'm like, what, Solar? What are you doing? You're like, what are you licking? But he obviously knows what he's doing. But it's a little, weird for my human programmed mind to see him licking the garbage can. Um,
You know, this is a fundamental point of what we're teaching. Um, we're easing people into a thought or a discussion. And that thought of discussion is, what if the things that you were taught that were wrong for you are right for you? And what we've noticed is that it takes people a little while to get their head around it. Like like when we talk about urine therapy. I mean, that's a good 15,000 people that said goodbye just over a topic. And I'm like, whoa, that shows you where society is when somebody says over one thing. Like I had somebody say, fascial maneuvers have changed my life. I feel so much better. I've shared them with everybody. But now you're talking about urine, I'm gone. And I'm like, first of all, where does that make sense? And and we've lost the willingness to explore beyond the boundaries of what we've been told is okay as a society.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, the comment section is always interesting, right? Because you have the people that just say this is bullshit, and there was never a time in their life where they didn't recognize that they could be adding to a conversation, adding their perspective. So if it's bullshit, then what isn't bullshit, right? Like bring a comment, bring a conversation to it so that there can be some dialogue. But the overwhelming people just negate it without saying their opinion or anything. And then there's the people that do bring their opinions, and that's appreciated because you get a little bit of their perspective, even if it's different. But that's what social media is that we share perspective, and then there's comments for everybody else to share their perspectives. But just coming on and hating and trying to take away from everybody else without offering anything is sort of like showing up to a party without bringing anything and just taking everything and then talking shit about the host as you're walking out the door. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, well, it was the couple that got me were like, it's changed my life and I'm a better person. Now you're talking about this, so I'm going to go away. It's like, just, you think about that. It saved me, and I'm going to now die because I don't like what you talked about.
It's an inability to hold more than one perspective in your consciousness at the same time, and it's cueing them or triggering them to run the other way, and that's their defense mechanism when things get tough mentally for them. Well,
So here's a talking about cueing and triggering. You just got something on me. So a lot of talk about narcissists lately.
oh yeah.
Yeah. What do you say when someone
About
says,
you being a narcissist?
"Oh, I am a narcissist"? Come on. I mean, we human beings are narcissists. That's
Yeah,
actually the damn truth of it.
right.
That's the whole human. That's the human condition.
I mean, we
But
should notice our beauty, right? That's the
yeah,
narcissist flower. So what was your
yes.
question? But
So what do you say when someone comes up to you and says that person is a narcissist? I was married to a narcissist. Narcissist, and
it's
that's
like you said, it is the new sexy hot thing to call people, and there's whole entire Instagram accounts like how to know that you're dating a narcissist, and there's all these memes, and it fits into a nice little box for people to say, oh yeah, me too. And it's comforting for a lot of people to label somebody else as a narcissist. But I mean, I studied psychology in university, and one of the long, and they make you do these 10-page research papers, which back then was a 10 pages was a huge deal. But one of them I did on narcissism because I was wondering, like, if I was a narcissist, and like you said, like the narcissistic personality disorder is what it's called, right? So my paper was
you're awesome. It's like, I wondered if I was a narcissist, so I did a research paper on it on
yeah,
myself. Okay,
and
go on from that.
it's all about like somebody loves themselves is essentially the root of it. And it's when they start like using that love for themselves to manipulate others to get more for themselves. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you shouldn't love yourself, that you shouldn't be narcissistic. It just means that you shouldn't be an asshole, and you should learn to be kind and respect others at the same level that you respect yourself. However, with that said, a lot of us go through different processes. Some of us have to process loving ourselves before we know how to have that same sort of camaraderie and collaboration with somebody else. And some of us need to learn through loving other people. And then through that love, we can then learn how to love ourselves. And the thing is that people are going through this at different phases of their life, and they do match up. And they say like, oh, the person that's loving themselves more is a narcissist and is using this other person that's loving them as well. But the thing is, they need each other. And you seeked each other out, and you were attracted for a reason. And to then just blame somebody else for your problems is like, no, you're refusing to look at the situation, which is you chose this for you. You probably don't only love your partner as much as that. You probably give everything to your coworkers too, and your boss to your detriment. But this is all just the process that we are all going through, and we're on different sides of this. And then it's just a constant cycle. We're constantly cycling through this. And then as a species as well, like the United States is currently in the loving itself mode and going through that progression.
Yeah. Cynthia, I think goes.
Hi, Cynthia.
Hi, sweetie. Love you.
Made your debut. Hello.
Yeah, it's actually I think I might have to go.
Beautiful out here.
Yeah,
But
it's
it's starting to
just starting to rain.
rain.
And can you see it?
It's the air. Yeah, the moisture in the air.
We just got just like so to put it in perspective for Americans, I think it's about 20 degrees out here, maybe. Something
20
like that. Yeah.
Fahrenheit. So below freezing. Or you're 20 degrees Celsius.
Sorry. No. Sorry. Not 20. I mean, it's about 38. Sorry.
Okay.
38. Yeah.
Which is cold.
Yeah.
It's cold on
Yeah.
the
And I'm having a good time out here, but all of a sudden I'm talking to you and I'm starting to see my breath come up, which wasn't happening before. We live on the mountain.
Mhm.
And so it's like so something just came in here. Somebody said, "Hello, beautiful Cynthia." So this is a really good point about the whole narcissistic. She's in her 90s. This is the whole thing about narcissistic. The idea. Like, who was I talking to the other day that said this? It says that narcissism typically was saved for people like Hitler,
Oh, it was
or
Jason.
Stalin.
Jason.
So you have Hitler, you have Stalin, you have people like that, and we had a term to say narcissist was this type of person right now.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, now everybody is a narcissist. You're a narcissist. You're a narcissist. You're a
It was
narcissist.
actually Christopher Witecki that said it. They were
Yeah.
having a conversation about it, a deep conversation.
Yeah, that's actually what it was. It was an Astro Monday yesterday. That's what it was.
Yeah.
I think it was last week. We were talking about it, and then all of a sudden it's the trendy thing to call everybody. It's a narcissist. And you said it's funny. It's in the Me Too world. Then we just got out of that. The Me Too, with the Me Too movement was. I mean, it's been going on for a long time, but it articulated. We had one of the Me Tooers, Kelly Tennant, which she wonderful girl. She is she was a sportscaster for the Dodgers and stuff like that. She was like news. And she got caught up in that with Walton, the coach of the Lakers. She was one of our influencers, was going through that moment coming out time. And just everything around her got caught up in that, including us. She came after us. She came after everybody at the same time because they're getting all those emotions out. And I see this happening all the time to people.
I mean, and that's on us too, right? It's to give them the space to do that, to expel everything out of them, and then also not let that impact our own view and perspective and mission of ourselves.
Yeah, that was a tough one because what happened at the time was a bunch of the Me Too podcasters, at that time they pulled our podcast that we had done with them, and And it was just like this little infighting of young Me Too podcasters at the same time. And it was such a bizarre time. But that was also when, at the same time that the FDA was coming in, the banks are starting to shut us down in the United States, and it all happened at the same time. But those are that, and we say giving people the space. That's what we did. But it was a perfect precondition, because if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have come here. And if I wouldn't have come here, the fascial maneuvers wouldn't exist.
Yeah, I was, I did a yoga class yesterday, and I was in the shower. It was hot yoga, and I was in the shower after, and there was a little sign. There was a little sign right in front of me that says, like, trust that the universe, everything that's happening in the universe is for you, right? And
Yeah.
it's really easy for us to think that when it's positive, but are we able to think that when we're going through all of this stuff, or maybe like falling ill, or however you want to explain being sick, like getting reset? How can we change our story about the situation? And then it gets even more dynamic when other people are involved.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, a lot of our, like if you look, wow, all of a sudden it's bright. It started raining. I was okay with the cold, but the rain gives us a couple extra special challenges that I wasn't ready for.
The cold is so good for us. I mean, we're made to deal with the cold.
That goes on that, actually. Yeah, because actually, cold is no problem. Cold is no problem at all. As a matter of fact, that's one thing that I'll tell you. The first thing that happened, like when we were on the wow.
Can you?
I don't know what happened here.
Is there a way you can focus on yourself? I don't know if we can focus on here.
Oh,
that did something.
wow. Okay, I did. I touched it. Yeah. So what happened for us when we were on the 44-day fast? So I noticed some behavior in my body that I wasn't aware of and before, like it. And this talking about, staying, like having that belief that everything's for your good. So one of the things that I noticed that happened for me, we went down and and it was May, we started the fast. So the ocean's still pretty cold here in May. And we weren't really into the cold water, in the ocean. We were like winter's house, summer's ocean, right? And so we were in the ocean, and I walked in and I started shaking a little bit, and then I realized that my legs, as I was walking in, were warm. And I looked at Jay and I said, "That's weird. I'm shaking, but it's warm." And he goes, "Yeah, I think it's just fear releasing, like a fear that is cold." So then we started to realize that at that point that something had changed in our body and our fascia. And the next thing you know, we started going in lakes and all that around that time. So it's pretty cold in the lakes around here around that time. We were in this lake of Whistler, and been swimming around for about half an hour, and then a whole bunch of people came in after a Wim Hof thing, and they jump in the lake, get out, and we're like, "What are these guys doing?" They're just jumping in and getting out. And we talked to them afterwards, and when we talked to them afterwards, they're like, "Oh, we're doing Wim Hof." And we'd been swimming in this thing for about 25, 30 minutes in this lake without even thinking about it, because there's only three of us. So we weren't aware it was cold because no one else was in the lake swimming. That's probably why no one else is in the lake swimming. And so as we started opening up our fascia, we started seeing that the fascia had layers, and those layers would be, the way I would explain it is each layer has a little bit of fluid that would warm itself. So we feel a cold coming in, and then our body at the core would send a heat wave this way, and you could feel it come and then reverse and then come back. And that's what happens in my body today. Like, I don't actually get cold when I'm outside. So I'll post it before I go. We were shoveling the snow out here, and my shoes, I had these barefoot shoes, have zero grip. Like, it's dangerous with the shoes, right? Not meant for it. So I just take off my shoes, and I'm actually shoveling the snow with my bare feet. And that's actually better. It's more grip. And And I know you're into this because when we got done with the hike at Shannon Falls, when you're up here, you were like, I didn't get to see it. I was waiting for Lisa and them to come down the hill. But you're down at the bottom. You're down. I just saw you strip down your underwear. You're you're in that mountain stream there.
Yeah, my plan was to do it at the top, but I slipped a few times on the way up, and I was like, I don't want to come down shivering and sometimes I didn't know how cold it was gonna be. I didn't know how it was gonna be, so I waited till I got to the bottom. The crazy thing is that I get that as well. You go in and you're cold while you're in, and you step out and you're warm. And the thing is that we are the source of heat, right? Like if you touch our skin, like we're the source of heat. We're also stored sunlight, we're stored potential energy. And so all of the heat that we need is already within us. If we go outside and we're not conditioned, then yes, we will feel cold. But our body is made to be at the temperature that it stabilizes at. It's made to be there. And so we can hold ourselves at our temperate stability no matter what our no matter what the environment is, if we're practiced and if we've got fascial.
So somebody said something here. When you get frostbite, if you go barefoot in the snow, and
Well, it's
that, I
in the
mean,
video.
yeah, it's yeah. I wish I could right now. It doesn't allow me to, but I'll put it up on the story. But the here's the thing is that like Wim Hof, great guy for bringing this up. But I mean, he climbing the mountains, climbing mountains in just shorts with no shoes and no gathering. So the question is, why do certain people get frostbite? And then here's another one.
And die. Some people die doing what he does.
And then why do certain people starve? Because I went 6 weeks without food, 2 weeks without water. So there's a doctor. He wrote a book, and it's based on a theory that if you chew every bite of food 100 times, he lived Auschwitz. They were trying to kill him they were testing him, like trying to starve him out, and they give him like a morsel of food, and he kept surviving, and they couldn't kill him. Well, anyways, he ended up living through Auschwitz. He got out. He was a medical doctor. He published books about it and stuff like this. And and I'm like, there's not enough nutrients in that food. Doesn't matter how many times you chew it.
Is that the same guy that wrote the book, The Man's Search for Meaning? Anyways,
it might be, but the thing is that like it can't be the nutrients in the food. You don't get any more nutrients if you eat it more. But one thing he did do was he reinforced physically a belief system that he had. And when I was fasting for 6 weeks, when it was 2 weeks, I'll tell you something that was really funny. I have a bunch of doctors that we work with up here, and when we were like about a week into the dry fast, they came up here and they were like, "You got to be careful. We've had people die from this." And literally, even though I believed, their fear and their conversation came on me, and I'm like, I'm asking my body, I'm asking Jason, I'm testing Jason's energy, because all of a sudden I had this moment of doubt.
Yeah, Viktor Frankl is who I was talking about. He ended up being a psychiatrist, or he was a psychiatrist. So it may or may not be the same person, because it's about like the spiritual survival of how he got through that. But just like you were talking about all of the viruses, the codes for the viruses being in our DNA, it's the same thing with like all of our superpowers. All of the power even to be wealthy or to be poor or to be able to be an athlete or to be able to thrive without food or water. There's people doing it for 15, 21 days without food or water. It's a struggle, and they document it, but this is happening. And this story of you're going to get frostbite if you go outside and it's cold out, that you're going to get sick if you don't have a jacket, or you're going to die if you don't have water for 3 days. These are just stories that we can take into our being, and they can manifest in our life if we let it. I've got 2 more things to say. That's why it's so important to not tell your friends and family, oh, this is going to be really hard. This is going to be tough. right? Because we think that we're consoling them. We think that we're helping them out by warning them or preparing them. But the moment you do that, it just destroys their confidence that they had in themselves. So whether it's an athlete, before the championship game, maybe it's your son, and they've worked all season or all life to this moment, and it's the most important game, and you go in there and you start talking about like how difficult it's going to be, and they have to overcome. Like that can have some negative effects on the person that you do that. But there's another story, I forget, I could probably look it up, of a soldier in one of the world wars, I believe, who trapped himself inside of a refrigerator car, a railroad car. And it was a refrigerated car. And they ended up finding him dead. And he wrote on the walls, like, I've tried helping, or I've tried screaming for help. Nobody will come. I'm getting colder. I'm getting colder. I'm getting weaker. And then eventually he died. And when they found him, he was dead. But the confusing part about this is that the refrigerator car wasn't turned on. So it was just 68 degrees. But he, in his fear, convinced himself that he was going to freeze to death inside this railroad car. And then he actually was able to take himself to the point of death with his own mind.
Yes. This is the bigger point, right? It's that this is part of our journey of learning, because when we did that fast, people would come and and family members, friends, and they would have great levels of concern. Now, for me, at the end of the fast, at 44 days, I was fat. Which baffled me. Now, Jason looked really, 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 really thin. And so he was getting a lot of the pressure from family, like this isn't safe, you're gonna die, and all this. And so we actually just stopped seeing people and talking to people, because we didn't want to have the conversation. And and we got up every day and we talked to each other, and there's a few people that are around us that very few that would actually support it. But by far the majority of people would not support us fasting for 44 days. Like about a month into the fast, people were like questioning us. And at that time, we had brain mechanics from Calgary bring in a bunch of scientific equipment, literally turned a whole basement into a lab. Brain scans, body scans, sleep scans, pressure, all this. And we were testing all of our bodies, because we're like, something's up. Like, one of the things that I found is, since my fast, and I don't know if this happened before or after, but my brain is 100% gamma. I don't have, like, when we did EEGs in my brain, 100% gamma. And it's been that way since. And I can't explain it. That means like my brain's on mushrooms all the time.
Yeah, it's like an enlightened state, basically.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
That is.
But
I don't have a tailbone.
Did that happen before or after that?
That happened. The tailbone issue was
A long time ago?
2019 at the Conscious Clubhouse, because every day I'd come out and take my activator, chiropractic, click, 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 and I'd hit my xiphoid, and I'd hit my tailbone every morning. And one day I get up and I go click, click, and there's nothing there. So the first thing I do is run to the bathroom. And I'm like, what's going on? I took a rubber glove, put it up my butt, trying to find my coccyx, trying to move around, and it wasn't there. And then I'm like, wow, I feel this itchiness, this itchiness right in the crack, and I can't figure that out. So I go right into the clinic, and I get my chiropractor, hey, who adjusts me every day for years, and I said, can you check? Something's up. And he checks. There's no tailbone. He does a rectal anal exam to see no tailbone. So I went and got imagery. No tailbone. I know the day it happened. I mean, it's a story that I'll tell, but not here. It needs a little bit of a pretext or a conversation. But it was after a realization. It was when the very first maneuver was anti-gravity. So I was in the shower, and I was down in the shower, and I was doing anti-gravity in the squat. And I had this visceral memory. It was like just like yesterday, and I can't explain it. There's a memory of being a monkey. That's all I can say. And it was as real as remembering that what I ate before I went in the shower. And I can't explain it. I have no way. I wasn't on drugs or anything. It was right after work, and I was in the shower, I was holding down, and then it was the next day that I didn't have one. That's the short story.
It's funny when you said, that's all I can say. I actually saw you as a monkey. I mean, those memories are in us, right? I mean, that's happening now. If you were a monkey, it's happening now because time doesn't really exist
Yeah,
linearly the way that we perceive it. So we should have an ability to connect. But back to your gamma wave, that's like ultimate brainwave. That's like you're supercharged. Your brain is basically operating at full capacity. It's like Powder, that movie Powder back in the, I don't know, the 90s, where
yeah,
you
I
had
remember
100%
Powder.
control of your brain. That's, I mean, a lot of the magic is behind the walls that are put into society so that we don't go beyond them.
Right.
Fasting is taught to us to be very, very dangerous. I mean, we're supposed to eat every 3 hours is the current kind of program.
I'm
And
pulling
so
up.
you don't eat for a day, you're crazy. You convince yourself you're starving. We can see that.
I'm pulling up something. Oh, here it is. This was a control, and that was my brain on an EEG, and we were using. We had this second here. So we're not exactly organized, and we're using this brain scan EEG. It's the same EEGs that they use for like race car drives right here. That was the that was the control headsets that we were using to test us at the time. So we turned that whole downstairs room into a lab, and we were looking to understand why we were different. There was something different about us, but we had no way to quantify it. So we took this brain scientist called brain mechanics, and they were partners with Microsoft and Google and all that. They lived with us. They came in and lived with us for 6 weeks, because you can't go into a studio or a scientific lab and then get tested, because you don't see it, and you can't see it every single day over time. You can have anomalies. So we went and we tested our bodies, and we found that our brains, like Jason and Cynthia, he said they're like Tibetan monks, very balanced in their brainwaves. And then he looked at mine. He goes, "I've never seen this before. You're just like, you're all gamma. There's nothing else there."
That's your identity too. So if there was a fork to go one way or another, that would be where you would go to. Interesting. I mean, fasting, so much of our energy is used to process food, right? I mean,
80%.
you're taking a banana and you're turning it into a skin cell. Like that's a huge feat for the body. 80% goes into that. I mean, and so 80% not going into that anymore. And then your body also being okay with that. It's stabilized, and then it starts to use your organs in other ways, which is what you get when you start looking to the east of like what all the organs are for. They're not just for processing food like we think about them in the West.
I'll show you something. So so we have a greater momentum right here, and can you see that? Yeah, you can. Okay, so this looks like this well-formed organ, right? It looks like an organ. It looks like something that should be there, but and what that does is it goes over top of this. So what happens is all the nutrients go into the small intestine, And then the blood cells in the greater omentum, basically it's a bunch of tissue with like, it looks like a river going into an ocean with a bunch of forks, or like a branch of a tree, like a leaf going in. And very much like a leaf. I guess it would look like a leaf coming back to the trunk. But when you look on an autopsy or you do a cadaver, it doesn't look like that. Yeah, it looks kind of looks like this. Or actually, I'll draw it like this. And this is what got me. It looks more like it goes like this, and it goes like this, and it has this shape, and it goes around like this, and it looks like a scab. It doesn't look like an organ. And this is where I started saying, when things look differently than we say that they do, especially in the human body, like you have two adrenal glands. One of them is phallic shaped and one of them is moon shaped. So what if they did something different?
Right.
I mean, we're not taught that. I mean, science doesn't even begin to. They show them in anatomy books being the same, but actually, if you go down and you look in the actual shape of them from a cadaver, one is pointed and one is round. Now they're starting to show like that. So that means if something looks different, it probably has a slightly different function. That's a fair statement. Also, like here's one. Things that look alike tend to do alike. Like, look at this guy right here. That's your brain. What does that look like? Looks like your brain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, when the fetus is developing, these two things right here, are in the development of a fetus. In the development of a fetus here, this here, and this here. If you look at it, this is what it looks like when a fetus is up to about 7 weeks. You would see a bunch of plasma around like this, and you see these two nerve clusters, and they're connected. One of them becomes the brain, and one of them becomes the intestines.
Yeah. There is a brain in the intestines.
It is our brain.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's
then in
not
between is the
separate
heart.
from it. That's why, since we don't have pain here, there's no pain receptors in the brain. We can't have a headache or a brain ache. So it's not the brain that has the pain. That's like these chronic headaches. It's something around it. It's the matter around the brain. It's the fascial coating. It's the dura mater and the fascia that has the pain. And the brain just tells us that there's something going on down here. So this is the notification, but the problem is in here, and this is the notification. In depression, when you have pressure here constantly, you perceive depression.
Yeah. There's pressure going in to press in.
Yeah.
Depression.
Yeah. So everybody who has depression that I've observed in my career of tens of thousands of people touching them, every single person that has depression has a lot of pressure on the small intestine. And when we move the visceral fascial pressure, that's why the lower reset works so well on depression.
Which then allows for expansion, which
Yeah.
is the opposite of depression.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what this whole like the when you're breathing in a pressurized, the maneuvers put you into kind of like a tight situation, and then you're expanding within that, which then when you come back to homeostasis or just standing regular position, you have more space within your body.
Yeah. Like we breathe like here, and our body's used to it. But if I go like this and wrap myself, now the body's trying to breathe, but it's used to this pattern. But when I wrap and breathe, it has to use new tissue to breathe. So it has to expand in an area that's not normal. That expansion in the wrapping causes, instead of just expanding like this, it causes this expansion. So it goes out and like this. And then that breaks up all those layers, visceral layers of fascia. And that's what the fascial release is. It's really the breath. That's why breath is our therapist.
I noticed that a lot, like after 6 months. After 6 months of doing it, I started feeling like layers, it felt like layers opening up, like throughout my organs in the backside of my body, like my kidneys,
So why do you think it took? Because this is a good thing. Because I remember you just did it under. I feel better, and I think I'm going to continue this because you like to do that. I mean, like growing your hair. You're like, well, I'm gonna go all the way. So why do you think it took you 6 months to really feel that feeling? Some people feel it right away, but some people it takes a while.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely feel that I felt something right away, right? Like on day one, I felt something. But 6 months in, I also had a story because I heard Jason say that that things started changing. So I probably created that story in my head that something's going to start happening 6 to 8 months of doing this consistently. But I also spent my entire life guarding this area of my body, playing full contact sports. So I built a tight cage around myself, and it wasn't releasing, or I think I didn't even know how to move my. For me, it feels like I'm getting access to areas of movement in my body that I've never moved before, and now I'm able to like consciously, like it's like wow, I'm moving. I can feel space in this area, like deep in my core and my torso, that I've never felt move before, and now I'm like able to like consciously feel it and move it.
Yeah, it is. It's super, super cool. You know, we could go on forever, as always.
Right.
I mean, literally, that's what no, my favorite thing is. My favorite part of my week is actually talking to you because it just keeps
That's
going. I mean,
crazy, Gary.
yeah, and I like it so much. And for all of you guys who are tuning in right now, we're traveling tomorrow back to Cancun. So Roth is your host, and it's going to be interesting because we got Claire Crawley coming up. She's the bachelorette number 16, and you get to ask your own questions. You met her in Joshua Tree.
Yeah. I'm not sure. Lisa reached out to me and said Claire wasn't going to make it, but I'll
Oh,
be
okay,
here.
okay,
I'm
okay.
not sure.
Oh,
I'm not
she
sure.
has. Oh, I know. She's got a baby coming up. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, anyways, Roth, thank you so much for hosting tomorrow in advance.
Hmm.
Everybody coming on, this is your chance to get down and ask Roth some deep questions.
Yeah. I love the questions. So it's just going to be rattling out conversation based on the questions, and we just make a symphony of conversation. So I'll see you guys all tomorrow. Gary, take care.
I'll see you. I'll see you. Well, I'll see you online soon. And again, think about it, Mexico, right?
Yep. Peace out.
Okay, peace out. Take care. Wow, I love those conversations. Man, it's just like I can keep going forever and ever and ever and ever. Okay, let's talk a little bit. Let's say a little bit of survival moss. You guys, survival moss. Thank you for dropping off another sample. Hello, hello.
Hello.
Tell everybody your name
Hi, Gary.
and your company.
I'm
They're getting
Daniel.
used to you. So.
Yeah. My name is Daniel. I'll start with the birthday, September 8th, 1982, Virgo. With Survival Moss, for those of you that don't know, but yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. I can't see you yet. I'm still seeing black, no visual.
Oh, sometimes that happens. You know, and I don't know what it is. So yeah, so we'll just pretend you're seeing me. I'm smiling.
You're always smiling, so that's easy.
So,
Yeah.
so Daniel, first of all, I got the samples with the fascial sweet and the survival moss with the cinnamon, and
Yeah.
it's really good. But I gotta say, I do like the flavor of the maple syrup, and
Yeah.
but here's what I was thinking: vanilla bean extract.
That'd be an interesting one because we do add vanilla.
Yeah,
So,
vanilla bean extract or maple extract, organic maple extract, because I like the flavor of it, but I do like what fascial sweet does, because fascial
yeah.
sweet actually regulates the blood sugar.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't spike the blood sugar. I've been dabbling with the fascial suite a little bit, and it's interesting, and it's a good combination with certain things. But yeah, Amani was the one. She was like, I'm gonna add this to the gel and see how it pans out, and it's not bad. It turned out pretty good actually.
Yeah, so we our fascial flow is Irish sea moss and fascial sweet.
Yeah,
And the reason why we did that is because you get all the minerals in, but the fascial sweet, basically it's impacting it's impacting the what do you call it? The insulin pathways. And insulin is the transport mechanism for nutrients. So we use the fascial suite as a way of turbocharging the nutrients or the minerals into the cell.
Yeah. Yeah. And Manny took your advice too on the silica also for helping with the absorption of minerals into the cell. And she's noticed quite a difference since adding silica into her diet.
I could actually, you know what? I could actually see it in her hair. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm weird like that. I could know, I notice those things, but I could see it in her hair. Her hair looked brighter and healthier.
Yeah. Yeah. And we were talking about potentially maybe even incorporating that somehow into maybe a future product, having an infused silica CMOS freeze-dried blend. So we're going to experiment a little bit here down the road. But I just wanted to say too, by the way, I really enjoyed that conversation you were having with Ra. That's kind of like just it's right up my alley. I really love all the science behind kind of understanding where how fascia plays into the body and all that wonderful stuff. And so there was so many times I was like wanting to jump in jump in there and comment with you guys, but that was a great combo. I really appreciated that.
You know, we have a lot of science about the body, but what we do is we base our science upon a series of lies, though. Let me tell you some. Like we have science about performance, but we say the average person breathes, like 15 to 16 breaths per minute. But there's a bunch of science that says after 12 breaths per minute, clinically we start to hyperventilate.
Mhm.
And so we base all of our known what's good on the average of population. Here's the ones that are really unhealthy. Here's the ones that are supposedly healthy. So here's the middle range, or here's the healthy ones.
Yeah.
But we have all these other things like the bones are structure. Well, none of our bones touch. So saying their structure is technically not right. And that's how we started thinking of fascia as structure. And we couldn't explain things like how do you move when you step on a piece of glass? I mean, it's a really simple concept, but if I'm stepping on a piece of glass, the signal doesn't even get to I'm moving before my brain even knows there's a signal, and it's not a ganglion reflex. So we can prove that right away.
Yeah.
So we have all this stuff that and what I found in healthcare, there's a very consistent behavior. When I ask a question, oh, why is it like that? I'll get a reason. I'll get an answer. But then I ask the question again, second time. So, okay, well, why is it like that? And then I'll maybe get an answer 50% of the time. The third time it's, oh, that's just how the body is.
Yeah.
And that's a third of every conversation in healthcare. And I'm like,
I know.
how is that possible?
Manny and I lost a lot of faith in our healthcare after she was diagnosed with MS, because we were attending, we're having conversation after conversation with neurologists, and we would come prepared. Like, we like to do our research. We like to go in kind of with a really strong general understanding, so that we could have a conversation that was impactful, and we could ask questions and better understand what's happening. And I never was satisfied with the conversations we had. Like, it was almost always we'd ask questions, and then the answers were, in many cases, neurologists, when it comes to these types of autoimmune conditions, there's a whole lot of we don't really know, or we think, dot, dot, dot. And so, yeah, I think a lot of it, a lot of times I find myself when I'm talking to some of these practitioners, I leave the conversation not satisfied, or with more questions than I had going in. And so it forces you to go find your own answers and find your own path. And at the end of the day, you just have to do what feels intuitively right, for your body, which is one of the reasons why I think Manny and I both resonated so well when we met you was that, and I'll be honest, I'll be the first to admit, I tell everybody this, prior to meeting you, I'd never heard the term fascia. I actually had to Google it. I was like, what is he talking about, fascia? What is this fascia? And then And then it opened my mind to this. There was a body part that I had never heard about before, and I was like, what? How is that possible? Because I consider myself to be a little bit of a jack of all trades. I know a little bit about everything because I like to research. And that was the first time I was exposed to fascia. And listening to you and listening to your philosophy and your way of thinking about what the fascia is and its role in the body was really interesting to me. So it felt intuitively, it felt right. Um, and uh, and yeah, I think I want to thank you for that because I don't know if I would have been exposed to fascia had it not been for you. And it's definitely opened up a new way of thinking about the body and all the different parts of the body and how everything works together and all that. So that was really interesting. That was yeah. So you introduced me to
So,
fascia. We call you the godfather of fascia, by the way.
it's funny because everybody wants me to go to these fascia conferences, and I'm like, I really don't want to talk to the people at the conferences because they have a different like we're on different planets. We're not even, and I don't want to talk about fascia anymore. I want to talk about how it works, what to do
Yeah,
with it, because at the end of it, the science of it, I come from a generation. I'm 54. Everybody wants to know when you get a new phone, what's the processor or a new computer, what's the inside components, and my kids, they, for the most part, couldn't even tell you that the phone had an antenna, or they don't even know the chip. They just know what it does.
yeah,
And and the reality is that's the way it should be. We don't need to know. We just need to know the function of the operation.
totally.
But here it is. You guys have pioneered a new way of delivering CMOS, which I love. Shelf stable for years. Um, and what I love about it is that what I really love about it is that I can give it to kids and they don't even think twice of it. You can put it on cereal, you can put it on a sandwich, you can put it in a salad, and they'll eat it, and it has virtually no flavor that's noticeable, and it's just freeze dried. But CMOS, the body needs 102 minerals,
Correct.
and the way that I describe it is I come from a telecom or networking background. So like I know data networking, telecom, stuff like this. So there's a cloud that we all have on our iPhones. And knows that the iPhone has all these apps. And each one of those apps has a direct line or PVC or SVC, like a virtual circuit that goes right to some sort of server to run that app. So it has a connection. So my phone has all these connections through the cloud to different areas to get information, to store photos and stuff like that. And what I describe it is that if one of those connections isn't there, like if I can't get my photos on my phone itself, I can go into my cloud and get them. And if I can't get them on my cloud, I can probably get them through some of my email or another folder, or I can probably get them on my social media. Now I'm still getting that same picture, but I'm not getting it. Like if I can't get it on my phone directly, I can go to my cloud and get it. If I can't get there, I can get it in other places. So I can find a photo if I lose it.
Right.
But that's what taking out one of the minerals in our body is like. It has to work around to go
Yeah.
get the end result. And this is what Irish sea moss does. It has all of those connections that we need in order to function in the body. And most of them are actually in the fascia.
Yeah. Yeah. My background's in networking as well, by the way. So I love that analogy. And you're absolutely right. You can survive in a state of mineral deficiency, but your body has to work harder. And in doing so, there may be a trickle effect. You may create other problems that might not surface right away, but take a little while. I truly believe that mineral deficiency is one of the major causes of chronic illnesses. It's mineral deficiencies left unchecked for a really long period of time, the body having to compensate for that. And then, you find yourself in a state where you're like, what's going on? What's causing this? What's causing that? I hate the term autoimmune because it's like this blanket statement, and it allows, in most cases, anytime you talk to a doctor about autoimmune conditions, they're basically like, we don't know what causes it. The immune system is overactive. Well, I kind of refuse to believe that. I don't think, and a lot of times they'll describe it as like there's something wrong with the immune system. I don't believe that at all. I think there's something very right with the immune system. The immune system is doing probably what it was designed to do. The problem is you can't continue in a state of deficiency forever. Eventually, you're gonna find yourself uh, just overwhelmed. It's kind of like a Dyson vacuum, right? The Dyson vacuum sucks very well. It's doing its job, but if you don't empty that Dyson every so often, it's gonna stop doing its job eventually. And so that's to me, that's what autoimmune conditions are. Your immune system is doing what it's supposed to do, but it gets to the point where it's just overwhelmed. It's you're not it's not getting a break, and it doesn't have all the tools that it needs to do its job, and that's kind of where minerals come in. A lot of minerals are overlooked, right? A lot of people focus on vitamins and they focus on a lot of these mainstream talking points, but rarely do we talk about minerals, and we never talk about the fact that most of our foods are, due to conventional farming, are kind of devoid of minerals compared to what they were, 10, 20, 30 years ago. So you got to get those minerals from somewhere. And that's what led us to CMOS. It's one of the few natural sources out there. And I'm a believer of getting all of your nutrition from whole foods. I like the idea of just being able to take something from the earth and put that into your body and get what you need from it. And that's kind of what led us to CMOS. It's of all the different things we looked at, that was the most mineral dense source for nutrition. And so yeah, it was only natural for us. I mean, we had already, but I don't know if you know too much about freeze drying.
Actually,
The process.
I mean, I don't, other than, I freeze dried plants and animal products over my life to extend the life. But tell me something about freeze drying.
Because I'm a nerd. I like the science behind things, right? I like to understand exactly what this is. And so before we even freeze dried our first bit of CMOS gel, we had a freeze dryer, and we were freeze drying all kinds of things. We were everything from we would even freeze dry candy because that was like the quintessential, like everybody knew what freeze dried Skittles was. But we had experimented with freeze drying a lot of stuff.
Freeze dried Skittles?
Yeah. Yeah, because so whenever you remove the moisture from anything, what you're left with is basically concentrated molecules. Everything that is not water in that substance, that's what you're left with. And so with Skittles, when you remove all the moisture, so it's no longer chewy. Now it's really brittle, easy to bite, and crunchy. But the flavor molecules, because there's no moisture there, it almost seems like there's 10 times the amount of flavor molecules. So picture what a Skittle tastes like when you chew it. Now imagine if it were just dry and crunchy, but more flavorful.
That's why the freeze-dried pineapple pieces you gave me are so damn good. Those are candy.
100%. And so, because you remove all the moisture, all you're left with is the flavor molecules and the nutrition and everything else that's in there. Everything that's not water, right? So, but it was the process that even got me to buy a freeze dryer, because freeze drying is like, whoever comes up with this stuff. I had this conversation all the time with Maddie. Who invented this thing, right? Same thing with like the MRI, and there's a lot of technologies where when you get into how did this technology works, it's like, are there aliens living among us? I mean, we know the answer to that, but freeze drying is a really interesting one, because you take food and you put it in a chamber, in a vacuum chamber. No vacuum yet. You freeze it down to about -40. And it's just solid ice. All the water in that food, just completely solid ice. Then you expose it to a vacuum that's pretty close to the vacuum of space. It's the equivalent of about 100,000 feet off the surface of the earth. What happens in that environment is a process called sublimation, where the ice is converted into vapor directly. It bypasses the middle stage. Normally, to convert water, ice to take ice and turn it into a vapor, you would have to heat it, turn it into water, it would boil, and then it would turn into a vapor. You bypass that middle step altogether. You sublimate the ice directly into a vapor. That vapor then condensates and builds up on the outside of the chamber. You can actually see ice forming on the outside of the chamber. And then you're left with food that was whatever state it was in, because when you freeze it, obviously -40, it holds its shape, it holds its state, and you literally are able to remove the moisture from it without impacting anything else. So it'll retain 97% of the nutrition. And then once you take it out of there, as long as you're putting it in an airtight vessel with an oxygen absorber bag and you're not exposing it to sunlight, those are the three things that degrade food. It'll have a shelf life of 25 years at room temperature, just about anything. Not quite everything. There are certain things like fats don't do well in freeze dryers. Sugars don't really do that well in freeze dryers. But just about everything else can be preserved using this method, and it lended
Wow.
itself. Yeah,
So
it's a fit.
so is there actually like is it like a steam, like you'd see steam on a glass is on the outside, but it's like an ice?
The entire process doesn't you don't see the vapors. It's kind of like an invisible magic, but there is so on most freeze dryers, on our home freeze dryer before, I mean, we've obviously commercialized our process, but when we were doing it in our early stages, we have a freeze dryer at home that has a thick glass window. It's like a 2-inch glass window, and so you can kind of look into the chamber as the process is happening. Now, this process takes 3 days with CMOS because there's so much moisture content in the gel. There, you can't see the vapor. You just slowly see the ice building up on the outside of this giant metal chamber. It just starts building and building and building. And then if you're looking at the trays, and the trays, by the way, are simultaneously, while it's being exposed to vacuum, the trays are being heated slightly. So it's in a minus 40-degree environment with a crazy vacuum, and then the trays are being heated just slightly, like 60, 70 degrees, and then that's what kind of kicks off the sublimation process. So it's
my brain goes to, can I chop up that ice and snort it?
it's really interesting because it's very pure water,
Well, I was going to
right?
say
Because you're
it would have to have, wouldn't it technically have the information from the product?
probably, absolutely.
Yeah, so
I would imagine.
so I'm guessing I'd like to try this. I'm guessing I could scrape that ice and eat it and take information from it that would signal my body, because here's something that people don't really get about the human body. Okay, this is food and food consumption. If I consume 10 pounds of food and water, I urinate, defecate, and sweat out 10 pounds.
Mhm.
So that means the only thing that's left is information, because everything left out, everything went.
Yep.
So this is why homeopathic works. You distill something 30 times and you take it, you get the information. I'd be curious to know if that, what that means, that all my body, everything in my body, like all the vitamins, because you said the focus is on vitamins, not minerals. Well, our body actually produces vitamins.
Yeah.
That's what our liver does. But we're not told that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It uses minerals. Your organs use the minerals to produce a lot of vitamins.
So I'm wondering if like I want to do this now. I'm wondering if I take the ice and if I consume that ice, I'm wondering if it actually will signal to my body production of something.
Well, it's interesting because the last step in the freeze drying process is to to clean out the chamber. And so there's you put it in defrost mode, and then it will slowly defrost the ice walls. This is after you've removed your product. And then it goes through a drain valve, and it actually goes into a reservoir that we collect and we dump.
I want to drink that water.
So I was just going to say, the next time I do something, maybe I'll collect some of that water for you, and I'll be, well, this is pineapple water.
I want to drink that water. I do.
Maybe
I want to drink that water.
we'll do an experiment. Maybe we'll do an experiment and see if you can tell
we
which
can,
water.
we can use like an AO scanner or an impedance scanner, like to tell if the nutrients is in your body. So like AO scanning, for those of you guys who are out there, they're really cool. They actually use a picture and then the voice frequency, and they combine it of you over the phone, but they can tell you, like, they could tell me that I ate a certain type of food that day.
Yeah.
That's
pretty wild.
I am super excited now. Now I want to go get a freeze dryer.
I'm gonna I'm gonna jar some different freeze dryer liquids, and I'll see if you can. I'll maybe like just label them with something generic and keep it on my end, and then you can run some tests, and we'll do like a blind test.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. Let's absolutely do that, because I'm super sensitive. Like, I can tell if something goes in my body, I can tell the effects of it, like within seconds.
That's awesome.
So
That's awesome.
So this whole process of free driving with the CMOS, because The thing about sea moss I like is that it gives me 94 of the 102 minutes. Now, it can take bladder rack. Have you ever thought about bladder rack, adding
Yeah,
that in?
yeah, because bladderwrack's got a lot of different minerals and trace minerals in
Yeah,
it
it
as
brings
well.
all of them together. So if you were to do that, what I like about it is that when I make it, and I love the gel, and I love the fact that you guys make the gel. It's easier,
Yeah,
but when I make it or I take in the gel, what I miss is the fact that if I don't get it fast enough, so I can make a whole bunch, then it goes bad, and so it's not shelf stable. So what I like about the freeze dried is that I can carry it with me anywhere. Even if I open the bag, it's still generally good.
yeah, yeah. And that's that. So that brings me to another point because we get a lot of people that ask us this. So I get people ask me, they're like, well, I bought the bag. How do I reconstitute it? And while you can, just to give you an idea, so our small bag is this guy here, 15 grams. Looks like a tiny amount, but it's the equivalent of one jar, right? And so when you take a jar, this has a lot of moisture content. This is basically mostly moisture, as you can see,
Yeah.
right? When you freeze dry this amount of gel, it turns into this amount of powder. Now, you can absolutely take this, dump it into a jar, fill it up with water, give it a solid shake, throw it in the fridge, and you know, within a couple minutes, you'll start to see it turn gelatinous. Within about an hour, maybe 2 hours, it'll turn back into a jar, a full jar. But it really defeats the purpose because once you take that freeze-dried powder and turn it into a gel, the clock starts ticking. Now you have, 3 weeks to 4 weeks to consume it. Whereas the idea behind this is that you can keep it in that state inside that bag for, a year, 2 years once you've opened the bag. I mean, 25, if you don't open the bag, it can sit shelf stable for a long time. But once you open the bag, you expose it to some ambient
Yeah.
moisture.
Yeah.
It's still a year, 2 years, like it'll last a really long time. That shouldn't last you that long, but like you'd probably consume a 15-gram bag. I consume a 15-gram bag in a few weeks anyways because I just keep it in my car. That's the whole point, is you can keep it somewhere on the go. You don't need a fridge, and you really just want to take one scoop out, and that's your daily consumption. Well, sorry, 2 scoops, 2 to 4 scoops is what I recommend. That's your daily consumption. Throw it into a liquid, your teas, your coffees, throw it into your yogurt. It doesn't need a lot of moisture. It'll absorb pretty quickly, and it's ready to consume almost right away. Like when I add it to my coffee, I start drinking my coffee right away. I don't mind if it's not fully soft and jelly yet, but within about 30 seconds to a minute, like you don't, it's gone. It
So
basically is a gel in whatever you've added it to. And
question, that little scooper that you have in the freeze dried bag, yeah, how is that like a tablespoon?
no, so if you look at it, you'll notice that first of all, this is the side profile of this. It's flat.
Mm.
We had to go to this to get it to fit inside the Mylar bags and not take up too much space. But this spoon here, so obviously when you're scooping a scoop, you kind of want to try and get as much as you can on that scoop. And when you do that, this little heaping scoopful ends up being a teaspoon of powder. So if you take this and you throw it into a little measuring,
Yeah,
you get
sure.
those little multi-spoon measuring kits. That's a teaspoon. Once you rehydrate that, it makes about a tablespoon worth. So
And how
one
much is that
scoop,
how much would that be in milligrams? Do you know roughly?
mm, I don't know. I think if you were to just look at convert tablespoon to milligrams, you could just do the conversion and it would be exactly that. I know that it's the equivalent of taking 1 tablespoon of the gel.
Yeah.
That's about how much you're consuming. So with one scoop, roughly. I mean, it really depends. Like sometimes I go in there and I get a heaping scoop, and sometimes it's a little bit less than a heaping scoop. So there's not an exact science, but it's roughly about that. And so when you're taking the gels, you want to basically be doing, 1 to 2 tablespoons on the lower end so that you can feel the effects of it a day. Anything less than that, you might not feel the effects of it. So that's kind of that's our baseline recommendation. Now, I don't consume it at the baseline. I consume,
Quite a bit.
2 to 4 to 6 sometimes. It really depends. And so that's a recommendation, but really I would allow your body intuitively to tell you how much you need.
I really, I promote heavily that because of the way that the body takes, we memorize delivery systems. So the
Mhm.
body, like Pavlov's dog. So if I ring a bell every time I give you a chicken wing, if you like chicken wings, the next time I ring the bell, your body starts creating the enzymes and the profiles to digest it.
Right.
So I really like the idea of using sea moss in a smoothie, in a soup. Soups are really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because then when I make that soup again, my body is already preparing itself for the nutrients.
Yeah. Your brain prepares your stomach, the enzymes, everything starts to happen before you even get it into your mouth.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that increases absorption and yeah,
That's
it's
why I
a
tell
part of
people
the process.
like I don't want people like we sell supplements for convenience. The freeze dry actually is a convenience mechanism, but we sell supplements for convenience and also to create habits because people what I've noticed is that when we're applying this, a lot of people, the habit of taking and getting a gel and eating it, it takes a while to develop a habit, but I can get them to do a pill on a daily basis. But we tell people we don't want them to take pills long term. Like we
Yeah.
say, take our supplements and then leave them behind, have them there for use. But we want people to take CMOS in its origin form. We want them to take horsetail silica or diatomaceous earth in the origin form and use it in different ways
Yep.
because these whole like the pill culture that we have isn't a great culture, but it does allow us to habituate a process. And when somebody's coming out of a disease process, their minds are cluttered already. That's why
Yeah.
I like pills for that.
Yeah. True. Very true. And I agree with you 100%. Like there's nothing wrong with taking supplements. Supplements are great. And especially when you need them in an acute way and you're going through something. I've taken many supplements. But you're right. There is something to be said about allowing the body to do what it does naturally. And you know, when you look at a banana, and you know you're about to eat that banana, there's quite a bit that starts to happen. I mean, first thing you notice is you start to salivate, right? And this is your body preparing the food just to get into your mouth. And it starts breaking, there's enzymes in your saliva, and you start to break down that food almost right away. And whether you realize it or not, your stomach's doing the same thing. You're already producing the acids that your stomach needs to digest that banana, and your body's going through a whole bunch of stuff. And so when you do that, you are better utilizing the food. You're better utilizing the nutrition from that food. Your body's preparing it, breaking it down, etc. Um, if you can take it, maybe you can trick the body by taking your supplements at the same time that you're consuming real food, so
Yeah,
that you can kind of
yeah,
hijack
you can
hijack that
because it
bit.
has a memory, but there is something to it because it's like it's the same way like if you take an espresso and you press it longer and harder, or if you mix ingredients into a cake, whatever, it changes the way it tastes. Like
Totally.
there is something to be said. I do encourage people not to take our pills all the time. I encourage them to go and buy survival moss and start using it as in their food because the delivery system is a habituated system that the body starts using firing hormones and preparing enzymes to use it in
Yeah.
advance. And the challenge with the pills is that your body technically doesn't know which pill is which pill.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because
Doesn't know
it
how to prepare.
bypasses a very important part of digestion, which is moment on the lips, lifetime in the hips.
Is that where they use that saying? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's actually what it is technically that where the actual saying is that once I touch my lips with it, all of the attributes of that food is already there, and the mass of food doesn't create weight, but the hormone distribution from the food creates weight
Right.
because the mass comes in and goes out.
Right.
Think about it, 10 pounds in,
Yeah.
10 pounds out.
Yeah.
So what is it about the food that does that? What it is that it fires a hormone array, which that's hormones are what's hit the save button on our emotions. And
Yeah.
that save button determines where that emotion sits in my body. And that's what fat is. That's why when I fasted for 44 days, I was still fat. I
Yeah.
mean, there's no way that I should have looked fat at the end of 44 days. And I was,
Interesting. Hey.
yeah, I'll show you a picture. It's like
I
bizarre.
still can't see you. I'm still looking at black, imagining your smile.
Oh, right. Okay, well, I'll show it for everybody else who's not there. Because what happened was is I fasted for 44 days, and and the 44th day of the fast, here I had what looked like fat, and I'm like,
Weird.
how is that possible that I had fat? You can watch the replay. So I'm like,
I
how is
will.
that possible? I went from here. I just went to a like slightly less version, but that was 6 weeks without food, and I should have been like skinny as a rail,
You would
but I wasn't.
think. Yeah.
Yeah, and so this is part of this was like the final part of my thesis on fascia and fascial maneuvers as we have it today, is how do I explain that I didn't lose all that weight when I was fasting? There has to be an explanation, and I wasn't catching that explanation. So so this is where I started to develop a new theory. So that weight came off. I fasted for 18 months. It still wasn't coming off. I would do like 1 week, 7 days, 10 days, 2 week fasting. And I did that for a year and a half. And then finally, I started processing the beliefs and the emotions. And then all of a sudden, it was like over here. It's like I went in. I wish I had a picture in June because I went to Mayacon and I sat. We were off the grid completely, where there was no power, no electricity, nothing for 30 days. We were on this resort in the Siacon Reserve.
Nice.
And then I came back from that resort, and then when I came back from that resort, I had literally I it looked like I had lost weight. And then I came back to Canada. I didn't do any fascial maneuvers, didn't change my diet at all. And then boom, 20 pounds came off in like 10 days. And
Wow.
nothing changed in my life. And so again, the question was, what I was trying to do is answer the question is, how is that possible?
Right.
And this is where I came. So there is a commensurate relationship between I work equals force times distance. If I lift a weight and move, I have a metabolic function. But that doesn't describe doing a fascial maneuver like a pretzel squat and me sweating bullets after 12 breaths.
Exactly.
So, because I can run on a treadmill for 30 minutes without sweating bullets. So there has to be this relationship that we weren't looking at. And the way I define it is that metabolic function is about blood volume in the lungs. And the more blood volume I push to the lungs, the more metabolic function I have. And if I lift a weight and move, I'm going to put more blood volume in there. But that's not the formula that works, because that formula can be usurped through patterning. Like if I run on a treadmill the first time, I sweat. But after doing it every day for like 3 months,
Right.
I don't even notice it.
You acclimate.
And that acclimation means that the formula for caloric burn, work equals force
For
times
sure.
distance. That means it
Yeah.
can't be true. Because
Yeah.
acclimation, if it's work equals force times difference, if that math is there, then it doesn't matter how many times I run on that treadmill, I should still have the same metabolic effect. But this is a whole world of science and a whole world of sports nutrition and science and measurement that just go, well, it's your metabolism changed. And I'm like, what do you mean changed? Like, explain what changed means. Because you told me it was a binary formula that said if I did this, I got this.
Yeah, there's a scientific formula to it.
Yeah.
And now it's changed.
So what I have found though is I found that when I release less emotions, I have less weight storage. Or when I process a lot of emotions, the first thing that would happen for me is my body would swell up like I got fat. Like literally, I'd get puffy, and then just like that sea moss, I would let all the water go.
Wow. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
I'm not even pretending that I even know. I'm saying that I can prove that the way that we look at the body, I can prove it's not that way exactly.
It's incomplete. Yeah, for sure.
That doesn't mean I know all the answers. I have a theory that I'm working with, and that theory allows me to talk about it, but that's it.
Well, and that's what science is, really. It's science is ever evolving. To claim that we have the answer about anything is incorrect, because at every stage of history, that generation thought they had the answers, right? And then the next generation comes along and they're like, well, actually, this new research shows that was incorrect, and this is the way we need to look at it. And then the next generation goes, well, technically that's incorrect, and this is how we need to look at it. And I mean, that's and I kind of liken this to even the science of like quantum physics, right? Quantum physics came along, and completely erased normal physics. Like the way that we look at the world is turned upside down
It,
onto its head. It's actually what,
it's funny because it did. It erased the normal physics,
100%.
but when you ask somebody about our lives and our bodies, we use normal physics.
Yeah, isn't that funny? And you know what? This is actually what led me, like I consider myself to be spiritual, but not in the same way that most people are spiritual. Like I believe in the metaphysical. I believe in the power of the mind. I believe in a lot of these things, and it's because of the science. It's because of you know, I always go back and I tell people I'm sure you know the double slit experiment.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Some of your viewers may not know, so let's just go over it. The double slit experiment was an experiment that was done that completely turned our understanding of life upside down. And it gave birth to a whole new world of science. And the double slit experiment, I mean, I'm going to butcher it, but I'm just going to kind of summarize it as quickly as I can, was basically they experimented by firing protons from a specialized machine. They would fire protons through a slit, and there was a detector on the back end that would detect those protons hitting the sensor.
Yeah.
And so when they ran this experiment the first time, they were expecting the protons, because they're being fired in a beam, to behave the same way that light behaves, which is if you shine a flashlight through a little slit, when you shine it onto the wall, you would expect to see a white slit of light. And instead, what they saw was an interference pattern. Effectively, what would happen if you were to splash the water and that wave would travel to where the sensor was, it created that type of an interference pattern on the wall. And they were like, well, that's weird. We need to see what's happening. And so they brought in a detector that would actually monitor the protons going through the slit. And when they did that and they ran the experiment again, all of a sudden on the detector side, it showed up the way that light would normally behave. It started behaving like you would expect it to behave. And they were like, okay. So they removed the observer, the observer that was watching the protons go through the slit. They removed it, and boom, it went back to being an interference pattern on the sensor side.
Right.
And they were like, wait a minute, let's do this with two slits. So they did it with two slits. Same thing. There was an interference pattern, and then as soon as they put in a detector to actually observe the protons passing through the slits, then all of a sudden it behaved like two lights. And what the moral of that story, that one experiment proved that our reality, our physical matter, isn't physical matter unless there is a conscious observer. When there's not a conscious observer, our physical reality behaves more like a probability of waves. That means that we are literally the creators of our reality. And not in like a metaphysical sense, literally in a physical
Yes.
sense. We actually, and it goes back to, like, you ever hear that old saying where it's like, if a tree falls in the forest and nobody's around to hear it, does it make a noise? No, it doesn't. The observer is required. That tree in the forest is a probability of waves until there's an observer that actually observes it, and that collapses the wave function and turns it into what we call reality. And that just that's what opened the floodgates to quantum physics. That's what opened the floodgates to a lot of different things. And it made me realize that we don't know anything. We know nothing. We know very little about our environment. We know very little about the world we live in. We know nothing.
That's why when they talk about science in the body, we know what 5,000 of our proteins actually do well, and there are millions of proteins. So to say that we understand the human body anywhere scientifically, and people go, that's the way it is, that's the science. So there's some smart guys out there that are going around saying that. And I'm like, yeah, you gotta come over and spend a little bit of time with us. You're gonna find a whole new science of the
Yeah,
body.
the science is never settled, is the bottom line. And I think that's what makes humans unique, is we constantly ask questions and look for other angles, and we're constantly going down that rabbit hole. And so, yeah, I'm with you there. Like, I don't believe that we have all the answers, especially when it comes to the human body. I don't think we know anything about the human body.
We don't.
I think we like to pretend like we know, but this is the most complicated machine And the further we dig into it, the more we realize we have no clue what's going on. Like we can kind of start to understand general processes and we can observe things that are happening and we can see a cause and effect. But like the underlying mechanisms and how it's all coming together is so foreign and it you have to assume that there's a bunch of stuff we're missing and a bunch of things that are connected that we haven't figured out yet and a bunch of it's we don't know anything. Science, the more I learn
We don't.
from
We don't. We
the
don't.
more the more I learn about science, the more we realize we don't know anything.
Yeah, and you know, and this is actually the truth about where we're at. But we have this romanticized version that we're intelligent, we're doing better. But you know, at one point, and this is what I love about what you guys are doing is you're you're just taking a simple result, which actually is funny because if you look at all the headlines of CMOS, you're going to get, well, it's really bad. You see your thyroid issues. It's like they're literally trying to stop people from taking it, especially
I
for
know.
thyroid issues. And Elon Musk, what I love about him, he goes, you know, there's one plant you better be acquainted with in the future, and that's CMOS. Elon Musk said that, right?
Yeah.
And there's a reason why. And anything, it's like when you get into boron and the delivery systems for boron, there's a reason why. Now, by the way, I do want to say that I think you should take some of our power, Kirk. We'll send it to you.
We
And
bought
I
them.
do
We
think
got
you
them
should take.
from the show.
Yeah, okay. But I mean, I want you to take some from. I want you to take and make a blend because what we do is we do a curcumin cake, a pie,
Yeah.
talking about delivery systems. And it's hydrophobic, so it should still work. But you should take some Power Kirk by dose, put it in there, and see what happens to it. We have a drink, a collagen drink with it, but the challenge that I've seen is that it it actually it makes stuff orange.
Kirkman will do that, right?
Yeah, sure, try it though. But
I
listen,
will.
I'm super excited about our relationship with you guys. I like the idea of the freeze dried. It allows us to actually warehouse and ship your stuff to at some point. We
Yeah.
have we have stuff in the United States, and I think maybe we'll talk about getting stuff there because we already have distribution out there to make it a lot easier. But I'm super excited about your process. I'm super excited that it's shelf stable, that you can take it anywhere. And the biggest part is kids will consume it. They eat it raw.
I know. And you can actually take it and just throw it in there and just chomp away. Your saliva is moisture enough, but you probably want to have a glass of water beside you if you're doing that because it will absorb all the moisture in your mouth and you'll be left with a pretty depending on how much you threw in there, of course. But yeah, it'll absorb the moisture right out of there. It'll soak up all your saliva, which is it'll make it harder to swallow. But yeah, it's you know what, it's been a bit of a game changer. We really wanted to make this product more accessible. Getting gel is hard because if you're buying it online, you have to deal with products that are full of preservatives because that's the only way really to get around the logistics of dealing with gels. And we don't like preservatives. We don't want people to be consuming preservatives. It kind of goes against our entire mission, this whole moving in a healthier direction. And finding people that do it locally and that are high quality products can be a little bit difficult too. And so that was kind of the challenge we wanted to solve. That's what we set out to do. And I think this is the best case scenario. We found a way to do it where we're not using any preservatives, no additives. We're retaining all that nutrition. It's shelf stable. And I want to loop back to what I was saying earlier. Don't buy this product and turn it into a gel. Use it by the dose. That's how it was intended to be used. That's the best way to use it. And
you sell the raw ingredient, though. You can just buy the raw ingredient and make it yourself if you want to. Yeah.
We do,
They're different uses. Like they have a different usage.
100%, yeah. And if you want to experiment on your own and make the gels yourself, you can absolutely do that as well.
Yeah.
And we do
that actually. Yeah. It's fun to actually try that once in a while.
Everybody should be a little bit connected to their food source. And so I don't think it's a bad thing to kind of experiment. If you're the kind of person that likes to do that, by all means, we encourage that too. And we would always, every time we do a farmer's market, we've got some bags of just the sun-dried fresh CMOS. And occasionally we get customers that'll come and grab those from us. Usually what ends up happening is they'll come back to the next market and they'll be like, I like the way you guys do it. I'm going to just grab it. But
yeah. I mean, it takes a while. It takes a while to do it right.
Yeah.
Daniel, listen, it's been great chatting with you today. I really like the partnership. I want everybody who takes CMOS to not only take our fascial flow to buy survival moss and the shelf and the freeze dried shelf stable CMOS. And I'm just looking forward to where this goes.
You know what? We really appreciate you guys, everything you guys are doing. I love your mission. I love the direction, and we're just excited to be a part of this with you. And yeah, I of course, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate your support and supporting our product. But more than that, we're just really happy to be kind of going on the journey with you guys and making an impact. I love what you guys are doing. We're very excited about that. So thank you for having me on. And
Thanks, Daniel.
yeah, I look
It's
forward
great
to the next
talking to you. I love the conversations. I can talk with you like rock.
one. Maybe we should do a three-way combo next
That would
time.
be good. Take care,
All right.
man.
Thanks. Take care.
Wow, great conversation today. So, guys, if you haven't done it yet, there are tickets for the free nutrition class tonight. So we have free nutrition class. It's an introduction to a 12-week nutrition class that you can take. The free class tonight, if you are a nutritionist and you are trying to break through and go to the next level, this is going to give you some tools to work with. If you are brand new and you're trying to understand it, you're going to understand nutrition and why at a different level. Like some of the things like the myths of dieting, and also the other one of like what diet style should I take? There is no one diet style. Everybody who says carnivore is the best, vegan's the best, paleo is the best, you're all going to have in my experience, over time, you're going to have a problem because your body looks for and likes diversity in order to respond. And when you give the body the same thing over time, it stops responding. That's why you change your workouts. That's why you change your routines, because the body likes to have contrast. And so he's going to be covering that as part of the nutrition program that's coming up. It's going to be 12 weeks. You can, if you're a nutritionist, you are going to come out of there with practical skills. If you're brand new, you're going to come out of there thinking about how to work with your body in different ways. And I encourage you to take the program. I encourage you to go to the class tonight. You can sign up on the link in our bio. Also, in addition to that, we have on the 31st, we have a class, which is on Sunday. So we have a class. It's for New Year's. It's to get you ready for New Year's. And New Year's is a big day. Even astrologically, that's when the switch flips. So that's why we're doing it the day before, because we want you going into that day good, not waking up that day trying to get good. So, if you guys can go, if you want to, we're going to be teaching this class specifically, and we're going to be imbuing, using our fluid adaptive biological computers, we're going to be programming us for the new year. So make sure that you get your ticket for that. Also coming up here and over the next little while, you're going to see some changes. Like, for example, we have the resets starting where you're going to start group resets on January 1st. If you haven't done it yet, you can now go to our website. You can sign up for the programs. Check it out. We just changed it yesterday. You can sign up for the new Circle app, which means we will have an app in the App Store soon. And this app is way more functional, way easier to use. And if you're on the 28-day reset, you're going to start as a group reset. Everybody does it at the same time. And what that means is that we can help you better because you're going to go through the same experiences at the same time with the same type of questions. And in addition to that, every single day in the 28-day reset now, it's cut down so that instead of watching an hour and a half video, you're going to be watching 10 or 15-minute segments of that video. So we get the point across. So this is really, truly a condensed version of this so you can get through it and still integrate it with your life and get the knowledge that you want. It's super cool. So even if you are a lifestyle artist, level 2, go in and go through the reset again. I mean, you can watch it. You'll know what people are doing. The movements are different every day. So there's a different class every day with a different focus. So it's not watching the same videos. And for those of you guys who've been with us in all of our classes, you'll recognize it, where we explain concepts like spinal pelvic block and why, how to do it. And again, this is all free of charge. In our new app, if you have a desire to contribute to our mission, you will be able to contribute as a monthly contributor. You get a badge, we'll know who you are. Not required. You can still have everything that we have free of charge. But if you want to contribute to this mission to help us reach the billion people on that platform, now we're at that. We're literally are accurately adding up to 1 billion people that we've reached and touched this year. Now, in addition to that, next year, it's 1 billion people doing this daily. We got 20 million people doing this daily right now, but we want 1 billion people by next year to do this. So one of the ways that you can help us is you can do this yourself. You can share it. You can run a class yourself. You can put it, what does it take to be a coach? Simple. What you do is you invite people over, you press the button and you play it and you do it with them and you talk to them through it. That's you being a coach. And when you do that 15, 20 times, you'll be really good at it. Take the video away and just start talking to people yourself at your own experience. If you're doing a fascia movers class and you want to coach somebody else through it, here's the way to do it. Do the class for you. Do what you want in the class and explain what you're doing. That way you don't have to memorize stuff. Just do your own process and say, I'm putting my left hand over, pulling, right hand over. I lean over a little bit more. I wait for this feeling, and then I go right over. Those are the ways that you become a coach. Coaches are the ones who do it, not the ones who know it. That's why we don't have a certification program like you would normally think. It's super. All the details and information are already there. So get in the new 28-day reset. Go to our new website. Check it out. Also, you'll find out if you go to our new website, check out the new guides. You find right now, I think that we have the supplement guide coming there, but we've got a new one for autoimmune. You can go check it out. There's an autoimmune recommendation that comes from our program, what we say to do with the autoimmune. So go check that out. Again, check out our new website. Get on Circle app right now. And if you're still in the Lifestyle Artist program, you're going to be in between two worlds right now. And if you want to, I encourage you, those who have saved your content, I'd encourage you to go and take your content out, like your own journal logs. Take your journal logs out and even re-put them in the new app. That's what I encourage you to do. We are going to be staying with Circle. We spent the last year and a half building this app and trying to figure out what worked and what didn't work. And what we did is we went to Circle is great because they took the basically mighty networks, the people, we wanted the changes and the changes weren't being made. So some of the management went out and created a completely new app. So we're super excited about that. So again, sign up for the nutrition course tonight. It's free of charge. Sign up for the start your New Year's class, right? It's on the 31st. Sign up for that. It's online. Get to our new website. Check it out. It was just launched yesterday. Our new features on the website. Get inside the new 28-day reset. Check it out, even if you haven't.
And I want to wish all of you a wonderful new year and full of blessings and growth and everything that's magical in your lives. And send gratitude and appreciation to all of you for being on the lives and participating and sending us love. And you're all so deeply appreciated. I love each and every one of you and look forward to the big adventure of 2024. So all the best to all of you. Love you.
See you, and tomorrow Robert hosting.
Oh, yay. Yes.
Okay, it's gonna be a great one. Take care. Bye-bye.